All right, evening, everybody. It is 8 o'clock in the East, so we're going to get started. Our guest tonight is Mr. Francisco Villar, who's new referee in the Big Ten. And he's going to talk to us tonight about chunks. Frankie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm glad I could have this opportunity to present. It's I enjoy doing it. And I mentioned earlier that a big part of it is for self. It kind of helps me reinforce what I've been taught and what I've learned over the years from various mentors and various other officials. And I want to preface all of this by saying that I didn't invent any of this. Rarely do we kind of invent something brand new. It's usually taken from things we've learned from other officials, various presentations, and my presentation tonight was plagiarized from one of a couple of my mentors, Tony Corrente, NFL referee number 99, retired, and Carl Cheffers, NFL referee number 51. Years ago, when Tony was the supervisor of the Pac-12, he and Carl had a presentation that they called chunks. That later evolved into segments. I still call it chunks because they're at another level where they can change it to segments. I'm still down here chunking along with my game. So that being said, I've taken kind of what their overall perspective and the theme of their presentation and boiled it down to something that I can easily process and remember. And I think it's important for everyone that when you go to clinics, you go to camps, you go to study sessions, and you hear something, you hear a presentation, you hear that's a really good idea, is to take it and fit it into your own personal officiating bag of tricks, because not every presentation or everything that we talk about fits into everyone's personality. The way I remember things, the way I process things is different than how Nick does, and than Tim, than Jo. We learn differently. We have different backgrounds. We study differently. So if there's one thing that you can take out of this presentation, I hope you do, and I hope you use it. Tweak it so that it fits into your style, and add it to your bag of officiating tricks, as my friends in the Midwest say. Their officiating bag. Let me pull this up real quick. And there he is, my mentor Tony. Can everyone see that? Can everyone see Tony Corrente on the screen?
Yes, now it came up. We're good.
Okay, great. All right. So again, I boiled it down and I call it chunks, and it's based on segments. And Tony and Carl have broken everything down to little aspects of each play that make it easier once you break them down, to me anyway, makes it easier to officiate a play from the start to finish. Much like your pre-snap routine that hopefully is a habit for you, which is part of chunks and part of segments. You break things down into smaller bits and you process them and they become automatic, and you do that over and over and over for 170 plays plus or minus 10. And that really is the crux of this presentation, is being consistent each play with your chunks, how you officiate each play and how you progress. Another one of my mentors here, that's Garth DeFelice, GDF, Good Day for Football. They used to have this up at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. And Garth would always say, it's a good day when somebody sends him a picture of from that locker room, because that meant they were working a big game. All right. Having a good pre-snap focus, and along with your chunks, understanding the rules and the standards that pertain to the particular chunk. Okay. Segments of each play, your pre-snap focus, you have to understand your rules and your standards that go along with that particular chunk. So I kind of broke them down. This is not necessarily in order, but for me, these are the chunks that I use and I follow through in each game where we have dead ball action. You have down and distance and clocks, subs, huddles, muddle huddles, no huddles. What's your initial area of responsibility, your initial focus, formations, shifts, the snap, right? That snap that starts a play. How do our areas of responsibility shift? Do they shift? What is the offense and defense doing? What are they trying to accomplish on this play? And we have some specific chunks that pertain to each individual position. For example, the action on the passer, the referee and the center judge, the action on the kicker as well. The deeps, the action on receivers, right? Line of scrimmage. What's the action happening at the line of scrimmage? Chunks of action surrounding the ball and off the ball. Turnovers, penalty enforcements. There's separate chunks for each of those particular occurrences as well, and declaring the ball dead. You break them down into these types of chunks, these building blocks for a play, and to me that makes more sense, and it's easier for me to progress from one thing to another. Right. One of the Carl Cheffers will always use I call it the altitude test. And I kind of liken that to chunks as well. If you're in a plane flying at 30,000 feet and you look down at the highway, the cars are they're hardly moving. Closer you get down to ground level, and now maybe you're 20 feet off, cars are zooming by, right? Altitude also plays into chunks, and it's the big picture when you're up high like that, you can see everything. And for me, with chunks, having these chunks, that big picture makes it easier for me to break it down and progress from one particular play to another, right? Your initial focus in your area of responsibility, you got to be ready. You got to be focused in. You've gone through your pre-snap routine already, and now it has to be a good habit for, like I said, for those 170 plays. Get the count in your head. If I see officials that are are trying to move up, or newer officials, and I always encourage them to count in their head. Not a big fan of pointing 1, 2, 3. I think you can do that in your head and find a way to do it so that you could do it quickly. Because there are times you might have to get your count a lot quicker than normal. What are those times? Referee, center judge, umpire, tackle box issues, right? That's part of your pre-snap, that chunk before the play. Who's in, who's out. Formations. What is the offense presenting as far as formations? What's the defense doing? Where's their anchor? Where might the trouble spots be based on a formation? Especially if you're working 7 officials and you have an umpire in the backfield. Already to start the play, there's a certain weaknesses behind the defense. But what is the offense presenting? What is the defense presenting that might make things a little trickier as the play develops? What rules are involved, right? What rules are involved to start the play? What rules are involved for pre-snap, right? What are the standards that go along with that? All these things you need to process and should be automatic. And I bet you know them all already, but you just don't, you don't think about it, which is good. You should have that in your head, but to have an understanding, to know these things, and maybe there's something missing that you want to add to your pre-snap and to these chunks. Now, before the season is the time to do it, when you're going out to scrimmages to work on these things. All right, referee. It's in the rule book now, right? Ball's ready for play. It's down. Teams are out, but are all 3 teams ready? Are the officials in a position to officiate the play? Right? Is your crew ready? Talked about the count. Talked about knowing the various areas, right? The tackle box, how that's formulated. I call it the clipping zone, but that's differently also. That's also a different kind of area that you need to know. Formulations for me, that speaks to the formations. the rules, and do you ever need to kind of change your pre-snap routine during the game? As a former umpire, I certainly had to do that, especially under 2 minutes. You're chasing a football down, you don't necessarily have time to do everything in your pre-snap. So what are the most important things at your position that cannot eliminate when you're in a time sensitive situation? Think about that. What's important to the umpire? Lateral placement of the ball down, and finding, getting the ball down. Those might be 3 or 4 of the most important things you got to do, because now they're going to snap the ball, getting into position, right? Referee, you have a bigger picture. You're back a little farther, but you can certainly get your count in. They're not going to substitute. You have time to get that count and check the clocks. Formations and shifts. Again, I talk about reading the formation, and as over the years, I've kind of come to the realization that it's helpful for me to take a peek at what the offense is presenting. Not only does it help me with my count, but also now I have an understanding of where there might be a potential for an uncovered area. For example, 3 receivers to one side of the field. I know that the line of scrimmage official on that side isn't going to be able to help with a tackle. I know that. 7 officials, it's even more important, because there's one less person to help pick up some areas of concern, right? So what do the formations tell you? What is the defense? What are they presenting? Are their linebackers creeping up? Are they in press coverage? Are they in deep zone? That can help you to identify trends and maybe anticipate what might happen or what they might be trying to accomplish. As formations shift, it might shift your initial area of responsibility. Right? If you're a side judge and the cornerback goes from press coverage and he drops off, well, now you can look off the ball at the snap. You don't need to see if there's going to be immediate contact. You can look off and help at the second level. What are the rules pertaining to players that are shifting? Do they need to get set? Who needs to get set? Who can move? Who has to stay where they are? And again, based on the formation and what's being presented, where might we need to help out? Where is going to be the soft spot for the crew? And then understanding the rules that pertain to formations, right? Rule 7, what is the offense? What can they do? Shifting. Rule 2, what's the definition of alignment? Definition of a back, right? We need to know all these things. We need to know those rules. We need to know the standards to apply that, especially with receivers. Blade of grass. When do we give them the blade of grass? When do we not? It's important to understand all of those in that particular chunk, right? So as you can see already, we've gone through a process of making a lot of decisions of kind of knowing particular rules, standards, shifting a little bit. We haven't even got to the snap yet, right? Now, what starts to play a snap? What is a legal snap? We need to know the rule for a legal snap, right? Literally, we snap into action from a legal snap. Once the ball is snapped, now we start making even more judgments. Okay, legal snap. What is being presented immediately, right? What grabs our attention right away? What in our initial area of responsibility? I keep wanting to say keys. I'm trying to break that habit. But in our initial area of responsibility, what are we reading? Pass, run, what is getting our attention, right? We need to know, again, we know what's a legal snap, what are the standards that, we follow as far as movement, being set, coming off the ball, what they can do with their hands, what they can't, right? Now we're reading the action. You're familiar with the movie Braveheart. I like to use kind of that analogy. when they're at war and all of a sudden everybody just starts running right at each other, right? They're mad, they're screaming, they're coming at each other, and then there's big, massive humanity, big collision, right? Just like a kickoff. That's what a kickoff is, Braveheart. But it's also the action at the snap between the line play, right? That close line play, boom. It's a massive humanity. What are the standards for blocking? What are the rules for blocking in that particular action? What is the offense trying to do? What is the defense trying to do? Are they trying to prevent linemen from getting out? Is the offense trying to sucker the defense in for a draw play? We have close line play versus open field. As the play is developing, you're reading all of this. You're making a judgment on that. Okay. The action is taking you to a new area of responsibility. And now you're making judgments on that particular aspect. Are you at the point of attack? Are you backside? Do you see restriction in that close line play? Now you apply the standard, right? We let them get away with a little more restriction inside than we do at the on a stretch play and a one-on-one block that maybe springs the runner, right? Know the standards and the rules that pertain to that. Right? Intentional grounding is also, something, a chunk in a pass play. For referees, you're making a judgment in the tackle box, out of the tackle box, line of scrimmage, or let me go back to what Dan likes to say. Referees, is the quarterback dumping the ball, right? You have that. Is he under pressure? Is he under duress? That's another chunk, another judgment you're making, right? Your keys, I'm going to use that word because the keys will start the car, or even if you don't have a key, we have a fob, right? And you push a button. So that starts the car. But once the engine's going and once you start driving it, your focus shifts, right? There's different things that you encounter as you're driving. It's the same kind of principle as the play develops. You have your initial area of responsibility, but now the play is developing and your areas might shift. Stretch play. We have the zones that we're now kind of responsible for, right? Zone 1 to the head linesman side, meaning a stretch play to the head linesman side. Got that point of attack coming right at you. Referees on that side, slightly behind. So our areas of responsibility as the play develops shift. I grew up a Los Angeles Rams fan. And so I use the acronym that RAMS for me to help me remind that as the play develops, I'm reading the play, right? I'm assessing the action. Now I'm moving with a purpose if necessary. Do I need to move to get a better window into the action that I'm making a judgment upon? And then scan. Is the play going away from me? Is there nothing going on in my area of responsibility? So now I need to scan to the next progression to help officiate on action elsewhere. So that helps me kind of remember my progressions or how I progress through a play. Make progress, right? Or progressions based on the play that's being presented to us. You're making judgments. So to run up the middle, do I stay in that area? Stretch play. Is it going away from me? Am I backside going to front side? Do I have the point of attack? Okay. Pass play. What am I looking at? What are my responsibilities? And it's the same thing for, and I'm speaking mainly as a referee, but apply this to a deep official. Okay. Reading the play. What is your initial area of responsibility? You have press coverage with receiver. You're looking at that action. What do they present? Is he running a route? Do you need to stay with that receiver? Do they cut across the middle? And now they're shifting, now you have a receiver coming into your area who didn't start out as your initial key. It shifts as the play develops. And so now you make judgments on that. You go from one chunk to the next, the snap, now the action, and now as the play is coming to a conclusion, we're going to start the next chunk. I like to put this in here because I've always been good at reading and assessing a play and not being a part of the action, but every once in a while, things happen. This was my rookie season in the CFO West, and it's just always a reminder for me that you're always going to end up somehow in the middle of things. I didn't hurt the running back, just so you know, but he wasn't very happy with me. Right? There's more action to judge, point of attack, and off ball. Okay? You got to know also what the rest of your crew is doing. Where is their attention? Where is their focus? Right? Who has the point of attack? Who's helping with the action behind the play? Right? Who has all that stuff that happens backside? How are the rules and standards different between the action at the point of attack and the action that's backside? Do we let a little more restriction go in action that occurs backside than we do at the point of attack? Yes. Right. What are some of the fouls that we always call, regardless if they're at the point of attack or not? Big takedowns, safety fouls, right? These are judgments that we're making in this particular chunk. I talked about this earlier. Action on your special areas of concern for the referee and the center judge. Action on the passer and the kicker. We have to know what's allowed, what's not allowed, what are our standards as far as what we're going to allow the defense to do. And JO is I use this all the time. JO will always say, could the defender have done something differently? And if you can answer that question, that yes, he could have and should have done something differently, then you're looking at the potential for a foul. Okay. Receivers, deep officials, line of scrimmage, your initial area of responsibility, your initial key. What are they doing at the snap as the play develops? What are they presenting? What are they doing? Do you let them go? Strangers and bad dudes, okay? What is this? This player didn't start out in my area, all of a sudden came over here or is coming my way, and he looks like he wants to, blow somebody up. These are things that should kind of jump out to us, that we should be aware of as each play develops. And I'll tell you, from my experience, that these types of plays, when these bad dudes come in looking to blow somebody up, when we relax a little bit, especially near the end of the play, that tends to be the time that we miss that, or I miss that, because we relax, or at least, there's that point where I start to take a deep breath because, okay, this play's over. What am I going to do now? I kind of I've lost focus there, and something bad happens. And I don't want to have that feeling. That's why got to continue to officiate, continue to scan, keep your head up, scan the action. Now we get to dead ball action. Okay. What's the result? Finish the play. Observe and report. Observe all the action. Observe all the dead ball action, especially if you're way off ball. You're the center fielder. You have all that action in front of you. Scan the field. Look for that bad dude. Plays right on top of you. You're responsible for marking the end of the play. You know where the run ends. You know where the play ends. Keep your head up. You know whether or not it's a first down. Line of scrimmage officials should never have to rely on looking at the box, whether it's across the field or behind you. You should always know the line to gain. You can do that. You're going to be nails. You're going to be working in Jacksonville. You're going to be going to Indy for a camp, right? That's part of your chunks. That's part of your judgment. Separation of live or dead. Okay, know the rules that pertain. The action, is it live or is it dead? When do you make that distinction? What's the cutoff for live ball action and dead ball action? And do you have a trigger mechanism for that? But if you're off ball and you don't know when the play ends, what are the standards as far as if we're not sure whether it's live or dead? Separation of church and state, okay, colors. The teams going back to their side. Want to make sure that the colors separate. They go back and they play nicely. Keep your focus on that. Okay. Dead ball action continued. Another chunk. Who's looking at the game clock and the play clock? Whose responsibility is that? Everyone's really for the clock, but I'm a little paranoid when it comes to clocks. That person's not on the field. They're up in the booth. And they're pushing a button, and it's technology. I try. Part of my chunks is taking a quick look at the clock and the play clock, right? What are the rules and standards as far as clocks? When do we absolutely have to put time back on the clock? When can we let a few seconds go by? What's the situation? The down. We have to be accurate on the downs. We get into penalty enforcement, loss of down penalties. Does the down, are we going to repeat the down? Did they decline? Is the box guy changing the down too quickly? Are they not changing it? Do the down boxes, the auxiliary and the primary down box, do they not match? Right? Who's looking at that? Is that part of your chunk, your pre-snap? Ball game, ball mechanics. After we've gone through most of the dead ball steps or chunks, now we finally get to, okay, do we need a football? Not going to be able to play without a football, but now that teams have separated, we've taken a peek at the clock. We know the down. We've finished the play. We can breathe and now look for a football if we need one. Are we under 2 minutes and it's a hurry up and the umpire's coming to get the ball? Right? And then the rule references. What rules pertain to dead ball action? And now a big one this year, injuries, especially under 2 minutes, right? We have the new, the rule for the injuries. When did the player go down? Is the ball ready for play? Are we under 2 minutes? Who has a timeout? All this stuff now, we have to start thinking about it and add that into your chunk for dead ball action. We have to be hyper aware of this, especially under 2 minutes, because it can really mess with a game. So this is something that I've kind of mentally added. Now I just kind of have to put it into practice in the field. Am I going to do anything differently? Am I going to scan the field looking for players going down immediately after looking at the clock? How am I going to satisfactorily manage that? Now we get into the subs in the huddle, right? We've got a ball down. Players have gone back to their side of the ball. No injuries. We checked the clock, down boxes, everything's good. Now we have the next chunk, substitutions and huddle or no huddle, right? What are our substitution mechanics? What are you doing on the sideline when players from the offense come onto the field? How are you getting the referee's attention? What is an automatic substitution, right? Going into the sideline, whose bench are they going into? Is it their bench? Is it the opponent's bench? Are they inside the white? Are they outside? Right? Who's your hideaway? There are some teams, and I won't name them, but I've worked them before, that would routinely on long passes downfield, whether it's incomplete or not, on the sideline, that receiver involved in that play would start to come back towards the huddle along the sideline and then go into his team bench area, and another player would come in. Now, I don't know if they were doing it intentionally to try and catch the crew off guard, but they would substitute in that manner, and we have to be aware of that. May I see some ID, please? For me, that's a reminder. Can I identify who the substitutes are that are coming in and who the substitutes are that are leaving the game? That kind of gets me into the rhythm of when I open the window to the defense. When I recognize who's coming in and, more importantly, who's going out, now I can efficiently open that window for the defense? Am I muddling things, right? Are we in a muddle huddle? Are there no substitutions? Are we going to let them play? Or do we need a little more urgency to keep the team from snapping the ball? And then for referees, all eyes on the referee as far as opening and closing the window. We want you to be that one person who the coach looks at so that they know that they can substitute or that they can substitute, but now they're on their own, right? Is the window open and we're going to get that substitution protection, provided we do it athletically, or have you closed the window and if they want to send somebody in, they have to do it quickly on their own, right? Stop or go. Do we stop the play do we stop them or prevent them from snapping the ball? Or like I said, are we letting them play? The crew needs to know that. One of the things I hope to do and is kind of verbalize that, and that's something that maybe we'll work on in practices. Anyway, and then the rules, where the rules pertaining to substitutions, right? I think, and this has been a discussion. We had this discussion several times, right? If a substitute comes on the field, goes on, then comes back off, right? Technically, that's a penalty. I think it's kind of changed a little bit as far as our standards, how we officiate it. You know, we see that player come on and then, decide to go off. We're going into substitution mechanics. And I'm okay with that, but these are some of the things that are important to talk about and recognize and understand, the standards and how we're progressing, how we're going to officiate that, right? We've gone through all that. We've gone through the subs. We've released the umpire or the center judge from the football. The clocks are running as they should be. It's second down like it should be. The crew is in position to officiate. And guess what? We start all over again. We go back to, okay, what's the formation? Are they shifting? Who's in? What's the defense presenting? All over again. And if you break it down, if you break down those chunks, and let's just say conservatively, you have to make 5 judgments during each chunk. And let's say you have 10 chunks, that's 50 decisions you've made. And I'm not counting judgments you have to make as the play develops, right? But that's 40 or 50 judgments that you've done in your head instantaneously, consistently, not counting the judgments you have to make during the play, right? That's in my area. Is that restriction? Was that a legal snap? Was that a legal formation? Was that a legal shift, right? Is it a catch? Is it not a catch? Is that a late hit? Was that targeting? Inbounds, out of bounds, reaching the line to gain or not, progress, fumble. All of these things add up throughout the play. And I know Tony and Carl used to estimate that you're making hundreds of judgments on each play throughout the game, multiplied by 150 to 170 plays, and the brain is just going and going and going. And that's often why you hear, and it's true, that you're mentally exhausted after a game because you're so focused, play after play after play, and you have to be. If you lose focus for any amount of time, you're going to miss something, and hopefully you don't miss something big, but you're going to miss something when you start to relax and lose your focus and lose that laser mental focus and not follow your chunks. Okay. Like I said, it's deja vu all over again for 170 plays plus. Your initial focus, formation, snap, read, assess, move if necessary, move with a purpose, scan, finish, dead ball, subs, right? And now we even talked about turnovers. I'll talk about this quickly. Right? We have different chunks during turnovers. Our mechanics change. How do our mechanics change? Right? Who now becomes who now gets progress, right? Who's getting to the goal line? Who's responsible for any defenseless players, right? The interception. The quarterback now, right? What's the rule? What are the rules provided for this? Quarterback is defenseless. Are they defenseless through the whole play? Is the kicker defenseless throughout the whole play? These are things that we have to know. Okay. Who has the ball? There's a tendency to get confused once there's a turnover, right? Who's offense? Who's defense? Is it red or white? Got to process all of that and be enforcement. Penalty chunks. Okay. Got to have 3 things at least for penalty enforcement, right? After all live ball and dead ball responsibilities, after the play is finished, after you've finished officiating the complete play, you got to have a penalty marker down. It tells everybody we have a penalty and a funny whistle. I'll add that in there, right? Funny whistle, penalty marker. Then maybe you can get on the O2O and say, I have a penalty. But we have to do all the little things we've been doing, forever, since before the O2Os. That flag down, get that funny whistle, get everybody's attention. Let's put a ball down at the end of the play. Everybody now sees that the ball is down at the 15-yard line. That's the end of the play. There's a penalty flag back at the 10-yard line, which was the initial line of scrimmage. And we have that down box. Our auxiliary crew who can make or break us, the box person is sharp and they've stayed there and they haven't changed the down. We have those 3 things, and then we get a preliminary. We can make our way through a penalty without a whole lot of discussion. Now, obviously, complicated or multiple fouls require a little more depth into our reporting, but we get those basic chunks for penalty enforcement. We should be okay. Right? Reporting, right? When did it happen? What happened? Who did it? Right? Where did it happen? And what was the result? Right? I'm going through this quickly because I'm trying to be generous with your time. But these chunks for penalty enforcement also play into the game, right? It's a separate aspect, but when you break it down into these little chunks, right? Finish the play. Let's get those 3 things down. Let's get everybody's attention. Let's report efficiently during the pass, okay, or during the kick, right? Blocking the back. Receiving team number 5 at my flag. There's a result of the play. There's the beanbag is the end of the kick, right? Break it all down and make it simple for you and for everyone else. And again, make this your own. If there's one thing you pick up out of this, then I'm glad. But like I said, for selfish reasons, before the season, this helps me kind of reinforce some of the basic building blocks, basic chunks of officiating, if you will. All right. That's all I got to say about that. I know I went kind of quickly. I'll entertain any questions if you have any. If you want to get back to dinner or get back to watching breaking or your favorite television show, go right ahead. But I was happy to volunteer to do this. And like I said, if there's any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Any questions for Francisco? Floor is open.
I've got a question, Francisco. It's Brian Stelzer from MIAA. My question, it just kind of popped in my head. This is great stuff about like routine and habits. Is there anything that's like that you would translate from habits on the field to off the field, like during the week in preparation, like that you could get in that kind of chunking routine that you might suggest?
Yeah, I tend to be a creature of habit, and I mean, I my friends say it's kind of I'm superstitious, but I tend to kind of approach these things the same way, especially with video review. I go through when I evaluate my own performance or crew performance, I look for those chunks. And a lot of times if something jumps out that we did really well, it's because we did a good job of being prepared for it, of going through the pre-snap, right? We were able to pick up on a sub that maybe tried to sneak in because we are focused on it. When we miss things like that, it's generally because there was one chunk that we missed as a crew, that maybe we didn't finish officiating a play, or we went to get a football too quickly, and maybe we missed someone coming in off the sideline. But yes, I kind of evaluate the film the same way I try to go through a play, and that's from the start to the finish. Where, am I in position? Do I look like I'm focused? Or am I moving around? Am I looking around? Those are the types of things that to me that jump out. And again, it's because I know my own behavior, right? I might look at another referee and say, "Wow, that guy's moving around," but maybe they're moving their head, and that's how they kind of get themselves into a rhythm. So I can't speak to that behavior, but I can certainly recognize what is not the normal behavior for me on the field. And a lot of this, I think, also speaks to your behavior as you prepare on the field. And if you see anything that's kind of out of the ordinary of what you normally do, or the good habits that you have established so far, then that chances are that there's something else that got your attention, or for some reason you may have been distracted. The long-winded answer to, yeah, I try and do the same thing during the week.
Other questions?
Cool.
All right, Francisco, thank you. To wrap up tonight, I just wanted to throw up our schedule here so we could all see. Hope you can all see that. So 2 weeks we'll meet. Michael Frayne will talk about what makes a play difficult. That will probably be in the same slot as always. And then I have a meeting scheduled for the 25th of August, but I have no takers. So if I don't have any takers by the 11th, we'll cancel that. That is week 1 anyway. I recognize a lot of people may be ramping up to start later in that week. Once we get into our September meetings, we'll go every other week. And if you have plays from your games you want to share, you want us to discuss, that's what those meetings are about. And I will put the sheet out to put plays in as the season goes on too. So that's all we've got for tonight. Again, Francisco, thank you. Everybody, thanks for being on. I hope to see you again very soon. Take care, everybody.
Good night. See you, J.O.